Well, yeah.
So that's, yeah, that's on days we, me and Debbie, that we.
I wouldn't do the end, I could do it, the paper or.
Oh my gosh, you have all the way to the east, Alabama. I got through around Lake Road stuff on my phone, but not even. I was still like. They always see fish tank. All the teams that are right here, you know where the line is, it's section. You gotta run right there, you gotta. Stop that big. Stop that big. I can bring half of them home and one of my. Oh, it's good. It's good. What the dog? Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah, to fix it. Yeah, it's an antique, I think, the one that they put up there. Yeah, they had to fix it. Original one was up there, that was a Walmart clock, but then they changed it.
exactly, but I remember you having general executive.
Oh, shoot, that's.
What do you think about
microphones on? That's what. Mr. Barnes, Chase Barnes, would you step into the boardroom, please? Mr. Hernandez? Mr. Hernandez? Come here just a second, please. So are you're here for the ATM? Okay. I will probably call you up. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just
I might have to go.
we're calling this meeting of the City of Palaca Planning Board to order. If you would, please, would you stand and I'll do the invocation. And Miss Edie Master, excuse me, Wilson will do the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to stand, please. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the rain that you've given us lately, Father. Father, we ask for wisdom tonight, this afternoon, to do what we need to do and work within the city's laws and everything that needs to happen with that, Father. We thank you for everybody's here, and I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
I don't think you really need to sit on the. Don't really need to sit on that. The hell.
Where's your agenda? I don't know. Do we have, do you have, there you go. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Hayes, would you call roll call, please?
Mr. Hilder,
Here.
Mr. Barnes,
Here.
Here.
Mr. Burnett. Here. Mr. Dolan,
Present.
If,
we have four.
yeah, we have, that's what I'm asking. Thank you very much. No worries. Appeals and procedures, ex parte communication will be now be read. Any person wishing to appeal any decision made by the planning board with respect to any matter considered at such meeting will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose may need to ensure that verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which record includes the testimony and evidence upon the appeal is to be based. Florida statutes 286.0105. Approval of minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes for May 6, 2025.
I have a motion by Mr. Barnes and a second by Ms. Wilson. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. We'll step into public comments. This is not necessarily towards anything that's on our agenda. This is just anything in general. If you are here to speak on a certain part of our agenda, you can do so at that time. So does anybody have anything they want to say other than that? Seeing none, we'll move on. Okay, we'll step up to our regular business. The case PB 25-10 Variance Bank of America ATM kiosk. Oh, there you are. Man, you jumped right up with springs.
Good afternoon, Chairman Killebrew and board members. This is a request for a variance regarding the front yard setback for property zone C2 intensive commercial.
Excuse me. I think you need to speak your name and your, what,
Brian Nichols, Planning Department.
thank you.
As for some background, Bank of America closed its black facility at 620 State Road around January 2025. To maintain service and a presence within the city, Bank of America is proposing to install a drive-up and kiosk in the parking lot area of Morisco El Pacifico Seafood Bar and Grill Restaurant. A rezoning application was submitted in fall 2024 to rezone the property from general commercial C1 to intensive commercial C2. The planning board approved the rezoning at your November 12, 2024 meeting, and the Palaca City Commission approved the rezoning at their January 23rd, 2025 meeting. Figure 1 shows the location of the restaurant. ATM. And the screen there is figure 2, it shows the site plan. The ATM would be located on the north side of the site with the new concrete island constructed approximately 16.7 feet from the property line. Elevations of a drive-up kiosk are shown in figure 3. Section 94-71 of the City of Palaca Municipal Code states variances shall be considered for development standards only unless otherwise authorized in this chapter and other chapters of the municipal code. The following criteria shall be utilized in evaluating and requesting variance. Criteria 1, special conditions and circumstances exist such as size, shape, topography, or other unique features that are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other land, structures, or buildings in the same vicinity or zoning district. The staff response. The site is a corner lot and has 2 street frontages and therefore has to meet 2 front setback requirements as opposed to one for non-corner lots in commercial zoning district. There are not special conditions that are not applicable to other properties. Criteria 2, such conditions and circumstances were not the result of the affirmative action of the applicant, and the applicant has acted in good faith. The staff response: the proposed location for the ATM kiosk is farthest separated from the restaurant building and would have the least impact on vehicular traffic for the restaurant. ATM users will not impact the restaurant traffic circulation. Locating the ATM anywhere else in the property would cause conflicts with vehicular circulation within the parking lot if the parking area is not redesigned or reconfigured. However, there is sufficient space on the subject parcel for the proposed kiosk to meet the required setbacks. Criteria 3, granting of the variance request will not confer on the applicant any special privilege was denied by the municipal code to other land, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district. Staff response: any applicant may apply for a variance to setbacks and other requirements in the zoning district, and approval is considered on a case-by-case basis. Criteria 4, literal interpretation and enforcement of the applicable standards would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of the municipal code and would work unnecessarily and undue hardship on the applicant. Staff response: the requested variance is a self-induced hardship as there is sufficient land to meet the required setback. Criteria 5, no variance may be granted for use of land or building that is not permitted. Staff response: in January 2025, the property was approved by the city commission to be rezoned from general commercial C1 to intensive commercial C2, which permits drive-up ATM kiosks. Criteria 6, the variance shall be the minimum variance necessary to alleviate the hardship. The staff response: the requested variance is a self-induced hardship as there is sufficient land area to meet the required setback. And lastly, criteria 7, the variance will not cause substantial detriment to the public health, welfare, and safety of the surrounding properties and community. And the staff response: the proposed location for the ATM kiosk would not cause a substantial detriment to the public health, welfare, and safety of the surrounding properties and community. The finding of fact for your consideration, the applicant is requesting a variance to place an ATM kiosk approximately 9 feet inside of the 25-foot front setback. And the proposed location provides visibility for motorists on St. John's Avenue and Florida State Road 19. Mr. Hernandez, here in attendance, and you can answer any questions.
Thank you. So, my first question is right off the bat. Oh, yeah, well, he hadn't started talking yet, but thank you. Where you're proposing to put that, and it's right there on that corner, is it going to cause any kind of, blocking of the traffic, visibility turning right there?
The ATM itself is still 15 feet plus a little bit more than 15 feet from the right of way line itself. It's plus adding the buffer, you're at 20 some odd feet. You're not going to be creating any issue with the visibility triangle at the intersection.
Okay. All right.
I have a question for me.
Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Just for transparency, I have communicated with the property owner for this, not the applicant, but the property owner, in asking some questions. So I noticed in staff's report several times, they identified that we were kind of creating a self-induced hardship. And if you know me or my voting history, I don't like standing in the way of progress, but why are we so determined to create the self-induced hardship versus work with the space that we have?
Well, in order to meet the setback, and I worked on this particular plan myself for for quite a few weeks trying to come up with different arrangements of the property and so on, in order to comply with the code as well as meet the needs of the existing property and the existing use. And what we kept running into on a consistent basis was that we would end up having to pretty much redesign the entire parking lot in order to be able to place the ATM in a position that would allow for a safe flow pattern throughout the entire property. If you bring that ATM further south, that additional 9 feet, 3 feet, you end up taking up additional parking spaces, and then the flow pattern that is left, you end up having to remove even an additional 2. So you end up removing somewhere near 10 parking spaces from that entire parking lot, just to allow a proper flow pattern throughout the parking lot without impacting, the safe egress and egress of the area. And you still have ATM drivers possibly blocking other parking spaces. So the intent was to alleviate that concern and allow the system, the existing business to operate in a safe manner while the ATM are being constructed and going into the future.
Okay, so the current construction, the ATM unit itself is in the middle of the parking lot, correct? With a driveway between the actual unit and the buffer or the grassy area before the sidewalk, right?
Correct.
Creating a new lane.
Correct, we're creating lane between within that small strip of buffer that's there in the existing condition.
But it's not gonna be in the middle.
It's not in the middle.
The middle, sorry, not the middle.
It's between the two distinct lanes of traffic. You have the lanes for the restaurant, and then you have the lane for the ATM itself. And the ATM is sandwiched between the two.
So I mean, again, in full disclosure, I walked around with the property owner, and he, for the record, didn't mind me sharing, he's not necessarily happy with the current layout. And he identified 2 spots that he thought would be better, for flow of traffic and things. How did we come to this configuration versus more so at the corner? Like, I don't know if you're familiar, but in front of Deco's, we have a ViStar ATM. Where you loop in and it's not protruding out the parking lot. You just kind of come up to it on the driver's side and then loop out. How did we come to this being the best resolution versus some of those other? Because there's 2 other areas where we would need the variances to put the machine without creating this. So again, I'm not trying to be.
No,
I'm just asking.
We should
Yeah.
have the discussion.
Yeah.
There's obviously, really think ideas.
Yeah.
To go over the overall design process, right? We're looking at the intersection. The first location we looked at it was actually on the eastern property line, just to the right, I guess, of where we ended up placing it. Along that eastern property line, right now, there is a double-sided row of traffic that's at the northern edge of that parking lot. And then there's a second row of parking spaces just to the south of it. That second row of parking spaces is basically set up to be almost a one-way into that lane that we would be placing the ATM. So when we would install that ATM, we would end up having to tear out pretty much every parking space in that entire corner in order to realign the drive lane so that you actually do end up with 2-way traffic rather than a section of 1-way traffic, 2-way traffic. And continue to actually create a loop on that property without having impact the flow pattern for the property. You have to have that. Right now, it has one section that's like a 1-way area that, it works, but I don't think that it's gonna be an improved area and it's gonna be in a safe condition. If we were to improve upon that area, including meeting the setback. When we started looking at some of the other areas, we just ended up eating up so much of the parking that we determined that it would reduce the functionality of the restaurant itself. Needing for parking at certain times when they're trying to operate their own business.
You know how many seats the restaurant is approved for and how many parking spaces there are in the lot?
I do know. I do know at this time. Photos of the restaurant during peak periods where every spot was taken as looked like it was someone from car.
Any other questions?
I guess I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm not the engineer, so I'm not trying to argue.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Anybody else got any other questions? Oh.
You
Hey,
gotta come up here.
Kevin, hang on just a minute. I was asking if they had any questions of Mr. Henry. You can come up and speak in just a minute, but just. Anybody got any questions? Mr. Hernandez? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. No. Kevin, hang on just a minute, okay? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak against? Okay, well, come forward, state your name and address, please.
Kevin Graham, I live at 174 Kelly Smith School Road. And my question is, if we've got, ever how many banks we got, a bunch on that same road, they all have drive up ATM. Like you said, we have the ATM at Nico's. Have we done a study to verify we need another?
I can kind of answer that question from right here. This is the old Bank of America ATM that the Bank of America has asked permission to move it back down on that corner.
And can't you use your card in any bank?
Well, if you only pay $4, $5.
I know Publix didn't charge it.
Yeah, well, they don't, I meant the ATM, I meant the Bank of America, that's their bank now. So that's the reason that they're trying to put it there.
You're creating an issue. That road has a wreck on it nearly every single day in front of Walgreens. And so I feel like if you're impeding traffic anymore whatsoever, you're gonna create even worse trouble.
Well, the ATM is going to be off in the parking lot, not on the highway.
But you're gonna be lined up to go in there.
Well, they'll be, okay.
If we have that many customers anymore, Bank of America has not been here in years.
Well, okay. Thank you. Is there if anybody else would like to speak to the issue? Hang on just a minute, wait a minute. Seeing none, I'll take that back from the public speaking to the board. Mr. Wallace?
Through the paperwork, keep saying front yard, front yard, front yard. I'm assuming front yard is St. John's Avenue. Right?
Well, I think that's what Mr. Hernandez, can you step back up here just a minute, please?
Nobody said- Oh, you did, but our staff.
Understood.
Okay.
He did met with Brian. Brian had mentioned that it basically had two frontages, so each road is being considered a front setback. So you end up with 25 feet from both roads along that entire corner.
Okay.
I realize that, but we kept saying front yard, the front yard. And you said we got two front yards, but you say the front yard. You know, things like that.
Is that all you had, Mr. Wallace? Mr. Wallace, is that all you had? Is that all you had? Okay. Listen, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just up here in the middle. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank
Any further discussion? Chair will entertain the motion.
Mr. Chair, if I may, again, I'm not usually ever the one to stand in the way of progress, but I see ample space to me in the northeast corner to do this without having a setback. So I'm not opposed to it. Bank of America, I had an account with them. I would love for them to have, and I'm on the record voting to let them have this ATM. But staff made several mentions that we've created an undue hardship, and I'm not compelled otherwise. So for that reason, I want to make a motion that we deny this request for the variance.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? For lack of second, we still have to do something, don't we? Yes, sir. Mr. Wall.
Motion,
Yes, sir.
I move that we grant the variance.
Okay, motion to grant the variance. Is there a second?
St. John's Avenue.
Okay. Motion to grant the variance. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Wall, second by Ms. Wilson. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Board's talking right now. Thank you.
For taxpayers.
I understand that, but thank you.
Can we get a roll call?
Excuse me.
Roll call vote, please.
Okay.
Mr. Dolan?
Since my first meeting, I'm going to abstain on this topic.
You're not able to abstain unless you have direct conflict of interest. You must vote.
Is there further discussion or is this vote?
We're to vote now.
Well, you have a motion and a second. You can open it up for discussion.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Dolan. Open it back up for discussion.
I think it might behoove Bank of America to find out from the restaurant, or planning might be able to find out how many seats and how many parking spaces it affects. Because if it doesn't appear to affect too many parking spaces, I don't see a reason to deny it. But again, this is months in the making and this is my first meeting, so I didn't want to vote one way or the other.
Okay. Ms. Woods?
Chair, would it help if I read the legal standard for the issuance of a variance?
Maybe.
To the extent that it helps at all, in order for a variance to be granted, the applicant must demonstrate that they will suffer undue hardship due to the zoning regulations, and that hardship is not self-created. The hardship must be unique to the property and not generally applicable to other properties in the area. The references that you heard, Mr. Nichols referring to in terms of that's what it means in terms of issuance of the variance.
Okay. And in that case, where we go to that, I mean, we keep going back to the variance as a self-induced hardship. I mean, that's on there several times. So,
Chair, if I may, what is the hardship that they're claiming?
right,
Right.
Thank you. The hardship is that the reality is for that reason to be installed in that location. If we're gonna go somewhere else, we're gonna need to have awesome. $1,000 and eventually back to the existing.
okay.
At whose cost? Is that the owner of the property?
Well, that's what's gonna end up being determined. The bank is basically gonna have that discussion with the owner of the property, the owner of the property may suffer something to that effect. The Bank of America might decide to pull out from that property altogether. It's really gonna be a discussion.
Okay.
If I may, is there any ability to put that site plan back up? Just kind of point out so you can kind of see what the concern is. This segment of property.
This.
Exactly. This segment of property is all one way. So as you're coming down this road and you're making this turn, it doesn't wind up enough for you to have a two-lane traffic until you get to that highway. So by the time you get to that area, you end up having to climb all these spaces over, build the ATM in this back area to meet the setback. And you end up disturbing this area, in this entire area in order to get close to that two-way traffic, so that you can actually continue that full loop. And that's the concern. It creates an unsafe condition unless you go all the steps, making sure that. It's safe for the customer.
My question is, why is turning off the 19 onto St. John's Avenue, you got a light, so you got, safer flow. And then pulling in off of St. John's Avenue, coming forward up to the corner, the northeast corner where there's already a grassy embankment there. That's not the correct term, but you just kind of pull up to that corner, where that bulges out. You're outside of your setbacks. You just drop it there and move on. Why are we coming in off of State Road 19 and coming in this longer way? That was.
Well, first thing that we look at is, it's not just where the ATM sits and that somebody can get to it. We try and look at, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Let's say something happens and there's 10 people out there at an ATM. We don't want them to back in the highways. We don't want them to block existing flow pattern for traffic. We don't want them to be partially in the driveway. So we always kind of try and create a scenario where it's visible so that people know where it's at and they're not driving and all of a sudden you're being distracted trying to figure out where it is. That they can enter safely, and that they have kind of the time to progress to that position where they're able to use ATM. If people get behind them, they're not impeding traffic, they're not creating blockage in the traffic flow. So that kind of thought process just goes through the entire, overall development of that plan. And in this case, anytime you add something to an existing facility, that's really what it goes to. You're trying not to reduce the level of safety below where it is in today's condition. Because that really becomes their liability, at the end of the day. And the fact that they have that one-way traffic section in that area, it's gonna create a bad traffic flow. That's really what it comes down to. And, we try and follow the best standard that we can from trying to get setback, trying to be, stacking, trying to just make the traffic pattern align with just people.
A little better.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to respond to the question, Mr. Dolan. I don't know the exact number of seats that our restaurant has. It's more than what is needed. So, and just to go back to the self-induced hardship, it is a very important criteria to grant a variance in any jurisdiction. And I understand they can reconfigure the will create some economic impacts. However, economic consideration is not a criteria for as a hardship. So we emphasize in the staff report a couple times about the self-induced hardship because it is a very important consideration when you want to grant the variance. Basically, what you do is you vary the requirements of the code, and it's a very high standard to meet.
So
I just wanted to give you that consideration.
okay, well, and I get that consideration, but one thing that I don't see anything on here that y'all normally do is your recommendation of what the variance.
We don't make recommendations staff on variance.
Sorry?
We don't make a recommendation on variance. We provide you the analysis of each criteria, and then it's up for this board, in this case, to either to grant the variance or not. Our responsibility is to provide you a technical review and analysis of each criteria and tell you whether it meets the criteria or not.
Okay, all right. Well, we've got a motion on the floor. So, Dolan, did that answer your questions? Okay.
I don't know who this is a question to, but did the property owner, did they just find out at the last minute that this is the plan that they're using? That now they've got an objection? It's been out there for a month, hasn't it?
Longer than that.
Huh?
I think it's been longer than that.
Okay, so whoever can answer that, probably you.
Thank you. We provided that to the bank to coordinate with the landowner very early on in the project, so he would have seen several dams.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second, and we were in the middle of a roll call vote. So
No.
Wilson,
Second, but I understand a little bit better now, since I don't know what to do.
vote your conscience.
So Jay, even though I second,
There's a motion.
Merely seconding an emotion does not mean that you necessarily agree with the motion. Seconding is to go ahead and for discussion.
All right,
okay. Then I say no.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
No.
no. Motion failed. Okay. Yeah, something to say, Mr. Barr?
Let's make another motion.
Well, it's for one vote.
Yep.
All right.
So
All right,
moving on to the next agenda.
next agenda item is case PB 25-03 or 08, excuse me. Annex, amend future land use map and rezone. The address is kind of confused by that, but 16-10-2060-000-0240-0013 Kelly Smith School Road.
Thank you, Chair. And hello, everybody. There is no 911 address for the
Okay.
property at this time. This is a request to annex a parcel measuring about 5.5 acres into the city of Palaca for the purpose of connecting to the city's water system. The request includes amending the future land use map from Putnam County Public Buildings, Grounds, Other Public Facilities, PF, and Urban Reserve, UR, to the city of Palaca, Public Grounds, Other Public Facilities, PF, and rezone from Putnam County Agricultural, AG, to city of Palaca, Public Buildings and Grounds, PBG-1. The parcel is located on Kelly Smith Road. The property is currently vacant, which is adjacent to Kelly Smith Elementary School within the boundaries of the city. The proposed annexation meets Florida Statute 171, which governs annexation in the state. The annexation meets the contiguity requirement as it borders city limits to the north, and there is water capacity to serve this property. The parcel is within a mix of public buildings, agricultural, and residential areas. The subject property currently has Putnam County Buildings, Grounds, and Other Public Facilities and Urban Reserve land use. It will be designated public grounds, other public facilities in future land use map of the city. The proposed amendment to the future land use map is consistent with the comprehensive plan criteria for land use designation change. As indicated in the staff analysis report, the rezoning also meets all the standards required in the code, chapter 94. The analysis of the annexation, future land use comprehensive plan amendment, and the rezoning is in the staff report, which is included in your packet. Staff recommends the following: the request to annex the approximately 5.5 acre property into the city of Palaca be approved, to amend the future land use map from Putnam County Public Buildings, Grounds, Other Public Facilities, PF, and Urban Reserve, UR, to City of Palaca Public Buildings, Grounds, Other Public Facilities, PF, be approved. And lastly, to rezone the parcel from Putnam County Agricultural, AG, to City of Palaca Public Buildings and Grounds, PBG, -1, be approved. The applicant is here if you have any questions for them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Holmes?
Given that this is a quasi judicial hearing, all testimony is going to need to be under oath. So city clerk, you can please swear in all witnesses that plan on testifying.
That include me?
That includes me.
Okay. So, Don Holmes, 222 North Third Street, Palatka, and I'm here on behalf of the Putnam County School District, Putnam County School Board. I am their board council. So you've heard the presentation of my staff, and basically at first glance, and maybe at second and third glance, it appears to be a relatively straightforward request. This is not a request for a PUD where we talk about site plans and design. It's not a referendum on whether or not a bond issue should have taken place or should have been approved. It's not a referendum on whether or not the school district should have adopted a plan that they've adopted to combine schools and build schools. It's not a referendum on whether or not people are happy with the idea of new schools being built with an increased population of students. What it is a annexation, comp plan, and zoning request. As you know, there are different levels of scrutiny depending upon what an applicant comes before you for. You've got all kinds of factors that come into play, planning and development, you know what I'm talking about. You've got all kinds of factors that come into play, design, maybe even sometimes appearance. This is not one of those. This is something that's relatively, I guess I have to be careful in saying this, but it's a relatively legal decision about whether or not a land use designation is appropriate and an annexation is appropriate, and there's a statute that governs. So with regard to annexation, really, the criteria are pretty, they're pretty finite. There's only 3. Is it contiguous? It is. That's not really subject to debate. It's contiguous to city property. Is it a compact size? 5.5 acres. Now, the next one, and I'll be here for, is a 9.9 acres, but it's adjacent to this. So it's a 5.5 acre size. And then an additional consideration is often, is there water and sewer available on site? There is, available to the site. So from the standpoint of annexation, we're asking that this property be brought into the city. And the primary reason is so that we can comply with your ordinance with regard to connection of sewer. I think you do extend water outside the boundaries on occasion for a non-residential or non-city rate, but you haven't normally in the past, at least to my knowledge, extended sewer outside the boundaries of the city. The primary reason we're asking is to afford us water and sewer site. The next issue is land use. And you know what I mean by that, and most of you have dealt with that issue quite a bit. You have a comprehensive plan, the city does. One element of it is the future land use element, in which theoretically you plan how you want your area to develop. And then your zoning is supposed to comply with or match that land use plan. This property is right now in the county, but it's in the public building and ground land use designation. In other words, in the county's plan, this is planned for public buildings and grounds. We're asking that it be brought into the city at with that same designation, public buildings and grounds. you have a little bit different nomenclature, but it's the same thing. It's for public buildings. Now, I believe your public buildings, and your attorney will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe your public buildings and ground, this category does not allow some things that some of the more intense public buildings and ground designations allow, but schools is one that it does allow. And then finally, we're asking for the zoning, that would match the comp plan to allow the school use. And that's what this is for. The school board, the administration has determined to basically rebuild Kelly Smith School. And this 5.5 acres as well as the 9.9 acres would be used as part of that rebuilding process. The 9.9 acres, I think, will actually house part of the structure of the school. The 5.5 may be more for traffic, parking lot, and so forth, but I don't know that for a fact because I don't believe the final designs have been totally figured out. So I understand that there's almost always emotion when you talk about zoning cases, some more than others. Been doing this a long time, and I understand that land is something that's dear to everybody's heart. Use of land is something that's dear to everybody's heart. And the emotions run high on things like this, even more than they do in a lot of cases that involve other topics that you might think are as important. But in spite of that, what we ask you to do is apply the law. What we'd ask, which we're going to ask the city commission to do as well, is apply the law. There are avenues and there are venues where people can talk to elected representatives about some of the things I mentioned. Plan to the bond issue, although it was passed by the people. The school combination plan. Those kinds of things were decided by the school administration and the school board. By the way, I'm not a voting member of either the school administration or school board. But those avenues exist for people to voice their concerns about these specific plans of combining schools, rebuilding schools, all of those sorts of things. But here, all we're here to talk about, and I say all we're here to talk about, I don't mean to minimize this because it's not a minimal issue, but what we're here to talk about is whether or not this request for annexation, land use, and rezoning complies with your applicable law. And if it does, then we're asking you to vote accordingly, and your staff has indicated that it does. That is competent and substantial evidence, and your staff report is. And some of those issues are not even debatable, such as contiguity right next to existing stock. So, well, not to minimize any aspect of this, because I understand, like I said, it's important. To people that are living in the area, probably more than to some that don't. But the law is what we ask every one of our citizens to abide by, every one of our elected officials to abide by, every one of the advisory boards to abide by, right on down to judges and juries. And what I'm asking you to do is basically comply with the applicable law and approve the annexation, the comp plan change, bringing it in as a comp plan that's actually not really a change, because it's what it's comp plan for right now. And then the result. I can answer any questions I'm happy.
Anybody on the board have questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, sir.
Anybody in the, hang on, y'all have all asked to speak. So let me go by, I've got to do this a certain way, so please understand that. You made the statement a while ago that you're my employee. I want y'all to understand, we are a strictly voluntary board. Nobody pays us a dime to do anything. So sir. Okay, thank you. Ms. Wilt. I'm not gonna have that from you neither. Ms. Robbins, would you be the first person to speak, please?
Robin,
Excuse me, Ms. Robbins. Will y'all keep it down in the back, please? Thank you. Go ahead. Which one is that you want?
first of all.
Excuse me, let me stop you just a minute. I'll restart your time, but you have 3 minutes to speak, okay? All right, would you restart her time, please? Go ahead.
This house right here, my husband and I built there 30-something years ago. We purchased the property and we knew that there was a discrepancy in the property boundary. A lady by the name of Miss Donnelly owned all the property, and Mr. Wallace came out and did a survey. Well, Miss Donnelly's survey started where the original cornerstones were marked. Mr. Wallace's survey took it 13 to 17 feet over. The recent survey that's at the engineers now is also taken at 13 to 17 feet over. So what this is going to do to my husband and our neighborhood, this strip of area of 13 to 17 feet right through here is nothing compared to the land that Putnam County District School Board has bought, which is all it is. Because keep in mind, up to a few years ago, they weren't even going to build a school there. That school decided to be demolished.
Mhm.
And all the kids were to go to the new school at 156 Oak Street Road. Well, for some reason, before they even been able to take their occupancy, the school's not big enough. And they have to build a paper second. So if they do that, this 13 to 17 group, which is not gonna make any difference, which is not gonna make any difference to the Putnam County School Board, is going to replat it from our neighborhood. Because it's going to strip everybody's property to the east by 13 to 17 feet. And with that being said, our neighbors is going to put their septic tank on their other neighbor's yard. And it's going to push Mr. Beaton's property about 13 to 17 feet down the road. We have all maintained and claimed this property for over 30-something years. We've cut it, we've cleaned it, we've done everything to it. No property owners have ever questioned this boundary that we've been using, because we were going by what we thought was the original property boundary. Mr. Kelly, who sold the property to the school board, thought that his property went all the way to the fire line. And with that being said, that's going to take it a little bit farther over to the east. And talking with Thomas Foley, he told me that at this time, the plans was to put a playground there. That 13 to 17 feet is not going to make a difference to those kids on the playground. But it's going to replat it by everybody having for septic tank in their neighbor's yard, the fence being in the neighbor's yard. It's just going to replat it on their entire neighborhood. And another thing, if they haul in the amount of dirt there, it's like,
I can't tell, Ms. Hayes. Okay, go ahead.
if they haul in all our neighbors,
Okay.
it's dry now, but it's not a rain.
Thank you, Ms. Rob. I have a question for you. No, ma'am, for Ms. West. I forgot that, you said something about the having to be sworn in to the,
All witnesses do need to be sworn.
okay. So I missed it with that one, so. Ms. Perkins?
Can I, just a little bit of advice, do you have a lot of speaker cards there?
Yes, ma'am.
If you could just, everyone who is on speaking, just raise your right hand and she will administer the oath.
Ms. Perkins, are you going to speak? If you are, just if you would stand and just raise your right hand and take the swearing in. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Thank you. And next is Luis Rodriguez.
So just like this gentleman said here, that it's a minimum, he's trying to minimize, but really this is a maximum impact. The lady said it's gonna impact a lot of people in the area, and this looks like a pop, like a land grab is what it's looking like to me. It's very clear, very evident. Not only that, but it's going encroachment into people's property, so it's causing hardship. Now, this has been going on, this gentleman here, this is the first time to this meeting, apparently these meetings have been going on for very long.
Not concerning this, Mr. Rodriguez.
That's not concerning the school?
Not concerning, this is our first meeting.
This is our first-
Yes,
Okay, so I apologize about that. But, as far as encroachment, you're pushing people's properties lines back. And then eventually what's gonna happen is that the city's gonna continue to grow. It's not gonna stop. Not only that, but if an eminent domain ends up happening, then all those people that want to leave properties to their family members who have wills or have trusts, the city and the state can take those properties from them, and those families can be left without nothing. Now, I had asked, well, I seen this gentleman, in the planning and development, I had asked for a copy of, utilities right of ways. Because utilities right of ways is another excuse that is being used to be able to take over people's property. Not just city or state, but also utilities plays a big role. And from what I am seeing, it's very evident that, once you guys establish jurisdiction and putting the school into city limits, everybody's gonna be forced into getting city water and probably use your sewage system as well. So if we have.
sir, I want to say something to address that right there. There are spots inside our city now. I'm just going to go with me privately. My mother is in a situation, I'm 63 years old. She's lived in the house I'm in she's in now for 63 years. And it is still in the county with the city all the way around it. You have to ask to be brought into the city.
Okay, now, if the city says that they need a certain right of way to help their utility zone, doesn't that automatically put the homeowner into city limits?
No,
Using utilities right of ways?
no. You don't automatically come into the city. You have to request to be part of the city.
Also, it's gonna bring a lot of, traffic, and like the lady was talking about, they're planning on taking agricultural land as well. So have you guys done a survey on how many turtles or, protected wildlife in the area has been?
I can't answer that question because all we're being asked to do is bring it in, excuse me? Okay, well, I'm just saying, again, you can speak if you want to. Right now, all we're being asked to do is bring the property into the city limits. We're not responsible for anything else that would be as I understand it.
DEP, the St. Johns River Water Management.
Right, but that would be the school district's responsibility to do all that, not us. Am I correct?
Yes, DEP would get involved if there were endangered species. St. Johns River Water Management District would get involved if there were stormwater issues that were represented.
Right. So again, all we're addressing today
Okay,
is to bring this into the city.
okay.
That's all
So-
we're addressing.
Has any of those, except request been?
Sir, again, we are doing what we're due diligence to bring this into the city. That would be something you'd have to address the school district with. It's their property.
Like to.
Time's up.
You guys, or?
If you would give that to the city clerk there, and your time is up, Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you. Denny Brown? Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people's been deceived here. You got a crooked county, I know. we
Sir,
got a
if you
court
could
right
please
there.
state your name.
Denny Brown, 105, not 105, but 174 Kelly Smith School Road. I'm a resident.
That's fine.
I'm not ignorant.
Okay.
I know about a lot of the locals, but let's get back to business. We're talking about future development. Understand about the school. At some point in time, we're tearing the school down, yet there's nothing really wrong with it. So now we're gonna raise people's taxes. And you said you don't have room when you could take the same property that you're proposing to do right there, and you could add on to that and improve that property. So I know there ain't a damn thing wrong with that school to start with, but what I do know is you go back over on the other 5 acres, I think Mr. Kelly had or whatever for future land development. But this affects me, I'm dead in front of that school on the bus loop right there, and all the way down that corner right there. So you put your utilities, whatever there, somewhere down the line, I know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, there's gonna be some type of HUD housing project there, duplex, apartments, or they could be just a small, overrun of housing in there. And that area, it will not support that with what is already in place. You understand? You go to Silver Lake, you go to 19, and you get an aerial topographical view and look at your future plan, somebody's gonna have to move at some time. And it will come to eminent domain, and I was a witness to eminent domain. I've seen a man lose several hundred acres for runaway 27 and 09 Palaca right there because he's old, but a pump walker told the city attorney right there, the man wouldn't deal with him. Took it by eminent domain. The bad part is Alford Timber wound up taking even a man's timber is a bigger rate. So, I mean, I know how politics works.
Okay,
So I'm just getting everybody abreast, you know, I'm against this.
okay.
It's too small. The county already owns the land. The county owns the schools. And the city should not have a damn thing to do with my county tax dollars when it comes to schools.
Thank you. Kevin, Branham?
'74 Kelly Smith School Road. I haven't been out there for very long, but I will say that the way it's done right now works and works for everybody. Or let me say it works for Kelly Smith School Road. I don't know that it works for the neighborhood across the street from them on the other side. I don't understand why the school looks perfectly fine. I've had grandkids going through it, one just graduated. Why you need to say one moment that it's being taken down, and the next minute after they buy some property, and by the way, we only got the negative statement.
My response is giving notice.
Okay, but you made it sound like that we knew this. was
Ms.
coming
Branham,
up.
Ms. Branham, address the board, please. You're not,
So that being said, we weren't notified until the green signs went up, and that's why we showed up last month on June 1st. But the school is in perfectly good working order. It really is. So I don't believe that they're adding these properties onto this school with the intention of keeping Kelly Smith School alive. They're very much, it's been said. It would have been done already had they had room enough to put them in that new school right now. But they don't, so they're going to have some come back out to this school. We all get along with the school. Nobody's opposed to the school and the education, but we are opposed to our lives being upset over the fact that we have no say-so. And it's going to encroach upon us. We truly live right across the street from the bus stop.
okay. Thank you, Ms. Branham. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this? Yes, sir. If you'd come forward, state your name and address, please.
Just a question that everybody needs to keep in mind, is the timber. If we're done lost all the wood just about on the dirt road coming from the hospital. We've lost just about, what, 80% of our wood in our general area, right? Y'all, that's not a lot of wood, but you gotta take that little bit of wood out. We just, when they did the detention pond site there for them to do 20, mile long, and just about everybody around there lost their wells. We're all low income people, we are pretty. Every one of us had to have new wells. You could destroy in that land over there, which is root system and helping the aquifer and everything else. The people on that side of the road are gonna lose their wells. And we don't have income like that, so we have some of the rarest woodpeckers you want to see. My nieces, I went to school there since I was a kindergarten. My nieces got a little pet hog. They was sitting at the gate when they went to get to school one morning, and raised that bull hog up to 400, 500 pound hog. There's wildlife over there in the woods. The gentleman just bought that section down there across from all Moody's. And you know, opened it up, so there goes a lot of that. We don't have much woods around Suffolk County anyhow, especially country, blues. They're building 9 Mile Dirt Road. That's all I ask y'all consider the woods and the wildlife.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak to this subject? No, sir. Sir? Mr. Branham? That's the rules, Mr. Rodriguez. That's the rules. I mean, that's just the way it is, okay? And again, I'm going to address this one more time, then I'm not going to address the crowd again. But we are here to decide whether or not to bring this parcel into the city. That's what we're here for. It's nothing else. I mean, I can't do anything about the gophers. I got 50 of them on my property, okay? But there's nothing I can do about that. Y'all will have to get with the school board, the trees and all that. That's not what we're here to address. It's strictly just whether we're going to bring this into the city. Okay, but the city's not getting it, okay? It's the school board. So I'm gonna bring this back to me and the board. Anybody, you got any questions or? Yes, sir. Yes, Ms. Wilson.
I do want to address maybe the issue of that whole surveys, and then this goes back to Mr. Wallace. Oh, wait a minute. You got the knowledge. You got the knowledge. So, I mean, where is the line? I mean, is it going to come over into everybody else's properties? That's why I just didn't understand what she was saying.
If I could, if the line comes in with everybody else's.
Sir, please sit down because he's the respondent. He's the one that's taking care of this. That's the reason he's speaking again. It's his project, okay?
If the line encroaches on somebody else's property, it does now. We're not changing the line with anything that's before you. This is a annexation, land use and zoning matter. I don't know about the issue of the boundary line dispute. If there is an issue there, it'll have to be resolved. But that's not what we're here about today. And I truly don't know anything about, I'm not saying it doesn't, I'm not saying she's not accurate in saying that there's an issue. I'm just saying, I don't know anything about the issue because it's not relevant to our discussion today. But it'll have to be resolved. There's no question about that, but it's issues resolved in a different bit. So, yeah.
Can I ask you a question? How can you annex a piece of property into the city if you're not exactly sure where that property begins and ends?
So, let me explain it this way. And I don't know if it's all something, but we face issues of boundary disputes relatively regularly. Somebody buys, somebody buys block 1, block 5, let's say block. They bought block 1, block 5, wherever it is. And it may be an issue about where the boundaries are block 1. Wherever block 1 is, that's what they bought. That, you understand, there may be an issue about where block 1 is, and there may be some questions about certain areas. Sounds like marking lines of circles, but wherever lot 1 is, that's what we have. It's the same with us. The school district already owns the 5 acres. So wherever that boundary is, it is. We're not changing that boundary. It's 17 feet, with all due respect, it's 17 feet one way or the other. As you said, it's not going to affect the children's playground. It's not going to affect the same section as I'm going to say. That's why I use it appropriate. With 17 feet more is appropriate, 17 feet less.
once time now, I know about this. I'll go back to this, illustration and say, hey, there appears to be a boundary line here that we can try to work with. And something out there with things being try to work it out. There are a lot of different ways of working out. I'll keep pointing Mr. Wallace, and with dance and dance, surveys over the last 35 years. There's a lot of ways to work that. And just more. What you were saying, you said, y'all can run that. I have no idea if the field is interested in taking what you control. Anything about this.
Survey just was completed, sent it to the engineers last week. And I was hoping to have a copy of it, Mr. Bear, Travis said that he would give a copy to all of us in the neighborhood, because it's affected everybody in the neighborhood.
It's 5:07. 5:07.
The conference call is for Nancy and sit down.
Okay, thank you. Ms. West.
Clarify, is the city. There is a boundary line dispute that is between the owner of the property, Putnam County School Board, and whatever neighbors are, but we cannot annex in what.
Okay, thank you, Ms. West. That answer your question, Ms. West?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Any further questions, or comments from the board? Probably good. Good, sorry.
Mr. Chair, can I make a statement?
Yes, sir.
And please, Ms. West or Mr. Gimo, correct me if I misspeak. But, you know, I personally may not be in favor of what's going on with the school systems. But this board has no control over those decisions. We can't speak positively or negatively. We have at this board, one request to annex into the city for use of using the city's water and sewer. And there's 17 elements in the staff report, which everybody is welcome to a copy of, that are basically yes or no questions. Is it applicable or is it not? Does it conform or does it not? For us to make a decision outside the scope of these 17 elements, open us up to legal liability, is my understanding. So we have a request to annex. According to the rules to annex and amend future land use, it checks all the boxes. That's really the only information that this board is allowed to vote upon. I like Kelly Smith School. I went there. I don't want to see it torn down. And I'm sure it will affect all the neighbors, but that's not something that's privy to this conversation. It's limited strictly to these 17 elements. Does it legally make sense or not? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct. Florida Statute 171 provides the criteria necessary for annexation, and this applicant has met that criteria.
Thank you, Ms. West.
I just want everyone to understand where this board is coming from.
Any further questions? Statements? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve the request to annex the subject parcel into the city of Palatka.
Motion by Mr. Barnes, second. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Wilson, second. Is there any discussion? Do we have any questions, discussion among themselves? Okay. I think that we'll do this by roll call too, please, Ms. Hayes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mr. Philbrook.
Yes.
Mr. Dolan,
Yay.
Okay, we have a unanimous decision, motion passes.
It's three-party.
Yeah. I was gonna go to that.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve the request to amend the future land use map from Putnam County Public Buildings, Grounds, Other Public Facilities, PF, and Urban Reserve UR to City of Palaca, public buildings, grounds, other public facilities, PF.
We have a motion by Mr. Barnes. We have a second. Motion, second by Mr. Wallace. Any discussion? All those, and let's do this by roll call too, please, Ms. Hayes.
Mr. Kilgore,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Here, yes. Sorry.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Dolan,
Yes.
Okay. Have a unanimous decision. Motion passes. Do I have a motion for the third part of this thing? What do I divided that here?
Rezone.
The rezoning.
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve the request to rezone the subject parcel from Putnam County Agricultural AG to City of Palaca Buildings and Grounds, PBG1.
We have a motion by Mr. Barnes. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Wallace. Is there any further discussion? We'll roll call this one too, Ms. Hayes.
Mr. Dolan,
Yay.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes.
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore,
Yes, motion passes. Okay, so we'll move on to. Oh, case PB 25-09221 Round Lake Road. Request to annex approximately 9.99 acres into the city of Palaca and amend the future land use map and rezone. Take it away.
This is a request. for
State your
parcel-
name again.
Renee Brett, Planning Department, City of Palaca.
Thank you.
You're welcome. To annex a parcel measuring approximately 9.9 acres into the city of Palaca for the purpose of protecting the city water system. The request includes amending the future land use map from Putnam County public buildings, grounds, other public facilities to City of Palaca, public buildings, grounds, and other public facilities. And rezone the Putnam County unincorporated agricultural estate to City of Palaca, public buildings and grounds, PBG1. The parcel is located at 261 Round Lake Road. The property is currently used as a single-family residence, which is adjacent to Kelly Smith Elementary School within the boundaries of the city. The proposed annexation meets Florida Statute 171, which covers annexation in the state. The annexation meets the contiguity requirement as it borders city limits to the north, and there is water capacity to serve this property. Parcel is within a mix of public buildings, agricultural, and residential areas. The subject property currently has Putnam County buildings, grounds, other public facilities land use classification. It will be designated public buildings, grounds, other public facilities in the future land use map of the city. The proposed amendment to the land use map is consistent with the comprehensive plan criteria for land use designation. As indicated in the staff analysis report, the rezoning also meets the standard required in the code, chapter 94. The analysis of the annexation is included in your package. Staff recommended following request to annex the approximately 9.99 acre property into the city be approved. To amend the future land use map from Putnam County public buildings, grounds, and other public facilities to the city of Palaca, public buildings, grounds, and other public facilities be approved. And lastly, to rezone the parcel from Putnam County unincorporated agricultural estate to the city of Palaca, public buildings and grounds, PBG1 be approved.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes, do you want to speak to this?
Palaca, Mr. Chairman, what I would say would be basically identical to what I said. So if the board asks questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I will just obviously agree with that.
Okay. Anybody on the board have any questions, Mr. Holmes? Okay, thank you, Mr. Holmes. Do Anybody, I mean, you want me to go back through the yellow forms and do that again, or do you have anything else? Anybody else in the audience has anything more to say? Yes, Ms. West, do you have something? No. I just wondered if they wanted me to go back through. Does anybody want to speak on this particular? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I move that this board approve the request to annex the subject parcel into the city of Palaca.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Dolan, second. Any further discussion on the board? All those in favor, well, let's do this by roll call, too, please.
Mr. Kilburn,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace, Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Dolan.
Yes.
Unanimous, motion passes. If you would, please, if I could have a motion on the second part of this, please.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I move that this board approve the request to amend the future land use map for the subject property from Putnam County Urban Reserve to City of Palaca Public Buildings, Grounds, Other Public Facilities, PS.
Motion, second. That's you, Mr. Dolan. Mr. Dolan, second. Am I pronouncing your name wrong? Right, Dolan. Dolan, okay, sorry. We have a motion second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, well, let's roll call this one too.
Mr. Dolan,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mr. Kilburn,
Yes. Okay, we have a unanimous decision on that. Motion passes. Can I have a motion on the third part of this?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I move that this board approve the request to rezone the subject parcel from Putnam County Unincorporated Agricultural Estates AE to City of Palaca Public Buildings and Grounds PBG-1.
A motion, do I have a second? Dolan, second. Mr. Barnes made the motion, Mr. Dolan, second. Ms. Hayes?
Mr. Kilburn,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Dolan.
Yes.
We have a unanimous decision. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Move on to the next. PB 25-07 cell tower, 1024 South 19 or South State Road 19. Request for conditional use. Take it away.
Correct. I'm here online. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, board.
Sir, hang on just a minute.
I believe you just kind of. The applicant is seeking a conditional use approval for a communication towers. The zoning is C2, and it requires a conditional use for communication towers. Lake Engineering is the agent representing the 8 towers, LLC, to get all the approvals to erect these communication towers. It's located at 1024 South State Road 19, Palaca. The parcel is currently owned by the Walmart Real Estate Business Trust, and the applicant has secured a lease for 2,500 square feet of land for the project of 50 by 50. The intent of the request is to address the coverage and capacity gaps in the area. It is anticipated that the tower will be cell phone communication services for moving. The project currently, as you all know, currently houses in Walmart Center. It has parking. And both of the properties to run this funds training for. The applicant is asking also for a 20 wide access easement and then 20 utilities to the right of way. Like I mentioned before, the communication tower is permitted in the commercial 2 district. That review all the conditions and criteria that applies to the conditional use. We found that it meets the criteria by establishing the code, and staff is recommending approval to the applicant request.
Yeah, me too. I just asked him to unmute.
Yes.
Well, he was big and pretty a minute ago.
I'm sorry. I'm
Not
sorry.
that you're not pretty, not that you're not pretty now, okay, so.
All right. I apologize. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much. My name is Shazad Mahmood. I work with Kimley Horn. Kimley Horn is the engineer of record who was hired by SBA Communications.
If you would, sir, if you would just state your, if you would do me a favor and state your name and address one more time, please.
Sure. My name is Shazad Mahmood, and I work with Kimley Horn, and our address is, let me get that for you, is 1920 Wakiva Way, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33411.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. So yes, thank you all for the opportunity to present in front of you. As I said previously, Kimley Horn is the engineer that was hired by SBA Communications. SBA Communications is a cell tower owner and developer throughout the United States, and they have identified an area of need for coverage and capacity. For this specific site, Verizon is what they consider the anchor tenant, and Verizon has stated that they've found this to be an area that that needs additional coverage and capacity. As a result, SBA has gone into a lease with Walmart, and working with Walmart, we've been able to identify a location, as you can see here, in between, let's just say on the west portion of the lot, in between 2 retention ponds. As previously stated, this will be a 50 by 50 compound, and the tower itself will be a 150-foot monopole. The monopole will be designed for multiple carriers to co-locate. So this is not a single tower design. This is a multi-carrier design. Also, as a result of designing a 50 by 50 lease space, it gives enough space for additional carriers to place their ground equipment on the ground. So again, multiple towers. Once this tower, if hopefully approved and built, can service multiple carriers, and additional towers will not be needed within a specific radius of 1 to 3 miles. As stated previously as well, we will require an access to the existing parking lot that will go all the way out to the right-of-way, and the 2 utilities that will be required for the project will be power and fiber. Similarly, we'll need power and fiber all the way to the right-of-way as well. Those will be underground items. Aside from that, if there are any questions or comments, please let me know.
Okay, thank you. And you're reaching for your microphone, Mr. Barr.
If I may.
Yes.
I neglected to mention that staff recommendation is subject to all the standards that are applicable to the communication towers. This staff report is based on 6 standards, and also included the surety bond that is the
Also to include what, I'm sorry?
The surety bond that they have to file. So our recommendation is for approval subject to all those standards.
Okay, thank you.
The bond is one of the 6 standards, correct?
That would be the 7th.
7th, okay.
Is that your question?
No, sir. Mr. Applicant, or Mr. Agimo, if I may, looking at the site plan, I see it says refer to sheet C2 for the large site plan. I didn't see that in the packet that was emailed or this one, but I'm curious. It looks like there's a little piece of the property that juts in that's maybe not owned by Walmart. If I'm assuming that this dotted black line that outlines the whole property is the property line, would that, if that's not part of the property, would that create any sort of issue? And it appears that the, what is it, the 50-foot, 55 to 55 and 50 by 50 exceeds beyond onto somebody else's property. Is that the case, or is that outside of the purview of this board?
No, the tower will be inside.
I see the tower, but I see that you got a dotted square, and it appears that the boundaries of that dotted square overlap over what appears to be the property line for Walmart.
Yeah, I will have to ask the applicant, what is, what that line is representing. But the tower itself is inside the property and it's way set back.
It's within our setbacks.
It's way inside. It's more than comply with the setback.
So, all right, so we're well in compliance as far as this board is concerned.
Adjacent to the Walmart is unincorporated county. It's not the boundary of the city.
Yeah, and if I may, I can answer that question. The dashed line that you see, and I apologize that you don't have sheet C2, but all that dashed line represents is if you did have sheet C2, you would see that it just shows the enlarged, a zoomed in version with that in that dashed line area. That was the area that was zoomed in. They're just showing you, hey, these are the boundaries of the zoomed in area.
Okay. Just north of the tower, and again, I don't know how far, but it looks like there's a little square that juts into Walmart's property. Is that someone else's property, and does that encroach on the setbacks? Because
it does not, and that is someone else's property, but no, it does not.
Okay. So even from that point, we're still within our setbacks?
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you. Mr. Wallace, speak into your microphone, please.
Same concerns I had with the one up by the fire station. Years ago, I did a survey for out in the potato fields, and we had to have a fall radius. Is that still the case? The one at the fire station, they said that it was designed so it would collapse within itself when it fell.
Correct, sir. We will be designing this to have a fall radius so that it would fall within itself.
So,
and that will be signed.
There will be a fall radius 150 feet, well, wherever your break point is.
Where the break point. So we were going to design it to 50 feet to fall within itself.
You good, Mr. Wallace?
No, none.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was talking to broke down old man. Any other questions? Okay. So anybody here that want to speak against it? Seeing none, I'll move on with that. Can we entertain, the chair will entertain a motion?
Anybody want it, or you want me to stab it? Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve the conditional use of the applicant.
Sorry, you guys on mute?
One case PB 25-11. Parcel number 10-10-0000-2000-0060 and part of 10-10-26-000-0130.0010. address 105 Cattle Crossing and 105 or 185 Cattle Crossing, Palatka. Who's presenting this bad boy to us?
I will introduce item, Mr. Chair, sorry. Yeah, this is a request for a final approval for a final plat for phase one of the McGlory Cove Townhome subdivision. The parcel subject, the request consists of two adjoining vacant parcels located at 6201 St. John's Avenue and 0 McGlory Drive. Both parcels combined are approximately 31, just over 31 acres, and are located within the boundaries of the city. If you recall, these parcels were rezoned to residential multiple R3 with a PUD overlay. The planning board recently reviewed the subsequent plan unit development plans, which received final approval from the city commission in January of 2025. The applicant is seeking approval of the final plat for phase one, which consists of 100 townhome lots on 11.37 acres. And the preliminary plan was reviewed, as you remember, by the planning board on February 4th, 2025, and recommended approval. The applicant is within the time frame that is allocated to submit the final plat. We have reviewed the plat for consistent with chapter 177 and also with our own requirements in our code, and staff is recommending approval subject to 6 conditions. The first condition is that all utility easements must be a minimum width of 15 feet. They have to submit the third-party surveyor report, which I know that they have the report, but they haven't been able to submit yet. Condition number 3, pavement width and the location of pavement on streets adjacent to the parcels must be shown. Number 4, significant contrast data must be shown at a maximum of 10 feet. Same condition, the word planning commission, the signature page of the plat has to be changed to planning board. And the last condition is that they need to submit a title opinion of an attorney of law license in Florida. So we are recommending approval of the proposed final plan subject to all these conditions that I just entered into the records. And this condition must have to be complied before this item can be scheduled for city commission consideration. The company of record is here to answer any question you might have.
Okay, thank you. Do you want, okay, do you have a question of the, did you say question?
That's the question.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I thought you said question. But if you'd like to step up and speak, please, sir, just give us your name and address.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Clay Marley, licensed surveyor, state of Florida, LS 7209. Address is 4168 Scenic Drive, Middleburg, Florida, 32068. I have a question. I have a question.
Yes, sir. Are you addressing it to us or to the planner?
As a surveyor, we disagree with memorializing existing ground conditions on a plat that are obviously going to continue during construction. I don't understand it.
I've been trying to kill that one for about 35 years and it's still there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not an expert in plat. However, it's a requirement in our code. That's the reason it's mentioned here.
Okay.
If it's not needed, then we can delete it,
The pavement width is another thing too, because if it's not constructed, how can I show, I can show proposed pavement. In my mind, that's another one.
I'm not saying you gotta do that. I find it very
Odd.
Well, it goes beyond odd. And I've been trying since my first case on the planning board, but I don't know how long I've been on it. It's been 50 years. I'll be young.
55.
Well, if you're young, we'll go with 90.
I've been trying to kill that one. We've got a lot of strange things in our subdivision regulation. In my opinion, we need to.
And I believe the new statute that went into effect today
Say
states.
it louder. I got one here, they working, one not.
Well, me too, together we might make a pair.
Excuse me, but I hope y'all don't make a pair. We only need one or a wall.
You can always pull a survey and you just not. But no, I believe that there is a new statute, 177, effect today. That's all that's needed.
That is what I've been preaching for about 40 years, and 35 years.
Y'all have any questions?
Mr. Chair, with that conversation, then I would maybe modify my recommendation to delete condition number 3.
All right, go ahead. And then
Number 4.
hang on just a minute. Let him modify what he's doing and then I'll go to you, okay?
Like I would change my recommendation, subject conditions with delete condition number 3 and number 4.
Okay. All right. All right.
You're comfortable doing that on the spot? Okay.
Mr. Wallace, you said you had questions?
Yeah, apparently in y'all's flood agreements, you agreed all, easements are gonna be 15 feet. Is that?
That is a requirement in the code.
They're 10 feet.
Yeah, it was showing in the plat 10 feet, however, the code requires 15 feet.
Yeah, but the plat that we are sending to the city commission is not a plat that's gonna be amended to show this. It's this plat that we got.
Well, the story just brought the new plats today. However, there was no time for me to review for this meeting, but it will be reviewed before going to the city commission.
Good enough. All right, now, I've got a couple. Pavement, we got rid of that one. I had it down to get rid of, and the contours I had that down to get rid of. And number 6, submit a title opinion of an attorney at law. Does what we have qualify as a title opinion, plat, property information report? That's not a title opinion.
Yeah.
We've got to have a title opinion and a boundary survey, which you got the boundary that speaks.
That's right.
Oh, Lord.
I know, I mean, for me, that doesn't work. And it's not even called a title opinion.
These are conditions based on the code.
What he's saying
If
is
it's not
submit a
needed.
title opinion, not that it's there. They're saying submit a title opinion.
It's what it says is that for a plat to go on record, there's got to be a title opinion and a boundary survey on record for that land.
Right.
And it's to be exactly as, you corrected me to go back, it's to be exactly verbatim as the description for the lands within the plat. Is that good?
And
I do believe that it also could, I believe chapter 177 states also a property information report can apply in place of the title. But I'm
But what I'm saying is all this is going to be part of our, that they must submit all this before it even goes on even further than what we're doing. Right?
That's, it's not part of the application right now, so.
You said what?
We don't have it yet, the title opinion. They have to submit one.
You don't have.
I understand, but that's part of the stipulations of approving this, is all I'm saying.
So if I could just weigh in here with the preface, the following items need to be addressed and resolved by the applicant to city commission consideration of the
Right.
final plat. The applicant is in compliance with the time limit requirement of 6 months, but this is all for the city commission consideration of the final plat.
We're requiring it to give to the city commission.
Understand all of
Okay.
that, but we're sending something to the city commission that does not meet, and I always say 177. It does not meet 177 in my opinion, because it's got errors in it or oversights in it or whatever. So to send it to the city commission and say, oh, that's good. I haven't seen the final. Have you?
Nothing.
Then you're saying it's good.
No, what I'm saying is that all that has to be in place and we're, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. West, and, that we're giving them the authority to make sure that that's okay.
And said everything is good. You know, you ought to have problems too, you know.
See, I told you, I didn't want y'all to be a pair. You let the old man out of the bag over there.
Listen, like this perfectly tuned up in its fine thing for the city commission to approve, because let's face it, there's not a surveyor on the city commission, hold on. However, that is not what the requirement of the code is. The requirement of the code is identification of the issues that do need to be addressed and resolved by the applicant prior to city commission consideration of the plat. So that's
If
what
I
I'm
say
saying here.
something's good, I like it to be based on what I've got here in front of me, not what it's gonna be after it gets revised again. You shaking your head, Edie, do you understand what I'm saying?
I perfectly understand what you're saying, Earl. I mean, I understand. Yes, sir, Mr. Doe.
Is it common practice in the past to have things teed up for the commission where it doesn't come back to this board? Or is it common that this board has files sitting before it goes? Is there a
It's,
standard?
there,
Always been, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, Mr. Wallace. You're in charge.
It depends on what the application is for. So in some cases, for example, on variances, you are the final stop. It never goes to the city commission. This would go to the city commission. It's not coming back to you unless there was a motion to table it to your next planning board meeting in an effort to resolve whatever discrepancies may be outstanding and remaining. That's within the discretion of this board. If you want this to be completely finalized and set up, so you are reviewing what the city commission is going to do, that is within your discretion to do that.
That's what we're supposed to be doing. It's a final plan. Not what's, you know, here now and.
Mr. Wallace makes a valid.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I'm not disagreeing. It is a valid point. But I mean, you know, we're,
Mr. Nolan, just to address your question, is that unusual to have staff recommendations subject to conditions in the particular case? And like in this one,
We do it on conditional, other.
we done it before too. There were other plats that we took to the city commission with condition that they had to be met. And not even before the city commission, if they have to be met before I can schedule it for the city commission consideration.
So the remaining 4 conditions have to be met prior to you even reaching out to the commission and
Right,
saying,
that's correct. I
I'd
would
like
not
to
put
put
it
it
on
on
agenda,
the.
and I would not recommend for agenda until it is satisfied.
So I mean, it behooves the applicant to have all of their ducks lined up in a row before attending that meeting. Because I wouldn't want to come back here as an applicant if I screwed up.
And I understand I understand they're addressing all of these conditions, they just didn't have the time to make it for the planning board meeting. But as you know, all of these conditions are being addressed right now.
Thank you.
He already submitted one today. And I understand, by the applicant that they will be submitted before the deadline for the next city commission. Enough time for staff to review and see that they comply with the condition. If the planning board recommends approval, serve the condition to the city commission.
And you wouldn't take this before the board again. I know you've answered this question but one more time. You wouldn't take this before the board unless all those things that are there are in place.
That is correct. However, it's your prerogative, if you want to see this back with all this condition addressed, we'll take delay the project for, maybe a couple months.
Understand?
If I may, as the surveyor signing it, I wouldn't want it to go unless all that stuff is in place.
Say that again.
As the surveyor signing it, I wouldn't want it to go unless all the conditions that the city has are addressed.
I'm not saying I was so great, but when you got a plat, all the i's were dotted, t's were crossed, and there was nobody could find anything wrong with it. And I mean that. And so are you gonna have the reviewing surveyor look at it again, once it's fixed, that he's already said it's good?
Well, I don't know what he said is good. I haven't got the report yet. So they haven't said, I know that the letters, I know he has reviewed it. I mean, it is in the plat with his signature. However, I asked them to give me a report stating, that the plat is, in conformance with the statute and with our code. They haven't done that yet because they couldn't get a hold of the surveyor in time.
That should have been done before this board ever got a final plan. Do you agree? I'm gonna put the dog on you. Go ahead. You agree?
I do agree with conditions. So conditions being that we did, by recommendations, send the plat to review for a surveyor that was contracted by the city of Palatka. And we waited for months, and to no avail, we never got anything back from him. We tried to contact him several times. So last week I reached out to Mr. Allen and had him do it. So it's been under a very short amount of time.
You say Allen?
That's who ended up looking
Okay,
at it.
Lake County.
Mr. Allen, yes.
Okay, he's good.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I looked at
And
it.
you understand that statement, he's good. But that's what you do in the case where you get a stone wall, you fire and you get another.
Yes. Sir. We weren't aware that we could. I thought there was only one surveyor that could make the sound out. Speaking of you guys. Yeah. Pretty much. So when I believe, come to find out, Mr. Island is one of the city of Palaka's reviewing surveyors. So.
That's paramount.
Yes. Sir. Yes. Sir. Yeah, I know. I don't want to break out.
Yeah, I've known him.
Okay. All right. You good? With your questions? With your question, are you done with your question? How about that?
Yeah, I guess I am.
Okay. I just want,
Mr. Chairman, can I make a suggestion that once they submit all the conditions that Mr. Earl meet with us and help us do the review before I schedule for the city commission?
are you making that one of the conditions now?
I think once it's a finished plan, Harold needs to see it. Or anybody else you want to.
Right.
But whoever signs that as the reviewing surveyor, they're hanging their license on the line.
Absolutely.
They're aware of that. And it's not to be a sloppy effort.
I believe the only thing that's left is the title opinion.
You think what?
The only thing that's left is the title opinion. We've already addressed, I believe we've addressed the easement.
Yep.
We addressed the lift station dedication.
Yep. Yep.
And I think your reviewing surveyor needs to see it again once it's a final plan.
Yes, sir.
I mean, otherwise, he's taking whoever's word that it was fixed. I like to see the fixed product. Don't get mad at me.
I agree with you.
She's grinding them, she ain't gritting them. Okay, so let's move on along with this thing now, okay? What's the?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm all for progress. I don't want to dime the whole dollar, but what is proper procedure, Ms. Wester or Mr. District? I mean, I understand in the past we've approved subject to, and I'm personally fine with that because I can't speak as intelligently about these plans as Mr. Wallace. But if you're saying it makes valid points, I'm serious. You know, if staff says it's good, then that's all I know pertaining to plans. Is this something procedurally, are we? Is it more proper to approve subject to conditions, or is it more proper to wait for the finished product?
You heard the fellow there, if I'm not mistaken, he said he likes to see a finished product.
Well,
And just and understand, like, and see a finished product, when you're asking subject to this, we have always done as a board, as a planning board, and I ain't been on it 90 years, but we've always done things subject to these conditions.
But not the list that I final flag to the city commission.
Okay,
When we've got something and we agreed to adopt it or whatever, subject to his request.
Right, and I mean, but that's anyhow, okay.
There is merit on the final plat.
Right.
Other things have been subject to, and one of the conditions of coming back and having Mr. Wallace review it, you know, that puts a burden on him. He's a volunteer. He's not getting paid to do this. So I do think we need to be cognizant of the fact that we don't survey or staff to assist with these issues. But this is permanent. It goes in public records. So we want to get it right.
Which is the reason why we have a third party that works for the city to review the plan.
Fight anymore, and he doesn't review them except for his vote.
Well, and also you said you relinquished your license, so I mean, you wouldn't be able to do that in the first place, right? Right.
He missed it.
No, I didn't. I'm trying to give you an out.
He was not talking about Mr. Wallace reviewing it as a registered land.
Okay,
And
I did miss that. I did miss that.
As a board
Okay.
member. so-
Wait a minute, wait just a minute, Mr. Dolan, I'm gonna butcher that one way or the other.
If I can make a motion to table until all those conditions are met, and then we can address it as soon as the conditions are met. Oh, okay.
And I see one out
Cross
there.
it off 30 days.
Yeah. Yes, Miss Kitchens, I see you. I will recognize you.
Billy from Kitchens, 1047 Dallas Quilt Street, the Latin Quarter. I agree with Mr. Dolan. And as a former city commissioner of 9 years, I would never approve anything that came to me that you all didn't look at totally. I'm also a board member of the Board of Zoning Appeals. And bond oversight committee, the school board, and several other committees. And I want the T's crossed and the I's dotted. And I don't care what historically you've done. But I think you need to have, if it's a final plat, then you need to see it, and everything Mr. Wallace required, and the surveyor said it needs to be done. And the fact you got this plat at the last second, when you didn't have time to review it, that's a red flag. You need to table it and then come back with all the conditions. And eventually you can have to come back, conditions, and then fine, and everything done before it goes to the commission. It's something complete. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, can
Yes.
it be your motion to continue the item instead of table? To continue to a time certain, so I don't have to re-advertise it again.
I'll amend the motion to.
What he said?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second. I'll second.
Ms. Wilson, second. Any further discussion? To continue.
Continue.
Yes, sir.
We're in discussion.
Yes.
Okay, so we're continuing for the purpose of bringing a completed report. I'm other than Mr. Wallace, staff telling me the report's complete. So I don't understand the purpose. Why is the subject to not accomplish the thin goals?
It does. It's within your discretion, but there is merit to having everything finalized for a final plat. In my opinion, there's a difference between approving of a PD, for example, with conditions that need to be met before it goes before city commission. A final plat, that is final. That goes in your public records. You need to make sure that it is perfectly compliant with what the
Okay.
statute.
So that was the answer to my first question. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
No worries. All opposed? Motion passes. That completes our agenda. Is there any further? Yeah,
I know my tires are
does
still up.
anybody have
They're getting
anything
there.
they need to?
I knew
discuss
I knew the
before
whole.
Okay.
I'd
Seeing none, do I
like
get a-
to welcome Mr. Dolan to the planning board.
Yes, welcome, Mr. Dolan. I'm sorry I didn't do that at the beginning.
Yeah.
I was kind of getting tense. I knew that it was fixing to get kind of right in here.
Trial by fire.
There you
Welcome.
I would like to say something. Happy birthday, Mr. Killigrew. Happy birthday.
Oh.
And you're not 63, you're 64.
Sure. Is that happy birthday?
No.
No, we already did that at Kiwanis today. Yes, Ms. West, I was gonna recognize you.
If you are aware that there is an issue on the agenda, can you please let me know in advance? I'm sorry.
Well, I knew, when you say hot button, I knew that all those people back there were here for that on the agenda. And I didn't know that it was gonna get to the point that it got to. I should have recognized that some of the people that I would. But, and all that said, I think it was okay. I mean, really and truly, I mean,
I
most of it.
think Chase, he bailed us out. They cut her down once he really explained.
I did that twice.
He did it
Almost,
better evidently.
almost exactly. I mean,
knows you, man.
well, that's what I was gonna say. I knew
Yeah.
most of those people sitting on that, they were like birds on the line back there. You know, so I mean, I knew, and that's what he was referring to. I know people up on that board, you know, I mean, I was starting to get a little edgy myself when he said, I heard him say 2 or 3 times back there, and that's the reason I shut him down was we were bought. They'd already been bought.
fixing to hit his butt.
You know?
Just let me know.
Yeah.
If you feel
Yeah.
something, future, just, we want to make sure. we've got the public.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you. I was wondering that myself. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Put it on whatever schedule to fix our, one more time, to fix our subdivision regulations.
How do we do
They
that?
smack of the 20s and the 30s.
Mr. Gamma, how do we do that? How do we start that process? I know y'all are undertaking a lot already, but
Well, the plan is, as you know, we'll finish it up, the update to the comprehensive plan, which.
yeah, I knew you got a lot
runs
going
gonna
on.
take about 3 or more months.
Uh-huh.
Through we go the adoption of all the policies. The intent is to, right after that, we have to update the land development code.
Perfect.
And that's the time. I rather do it, on a one time rather to do it on an incremental basis. Just.
So we're in a
grab that
process.
call from, and maybe scratch it and get something new.
Okay. So it'll be addressed end of this year, beginning of next?
I hope so.
Very good.
Yes.
So it's on the agenda. Thank you.
Any further?
I move we adjourn.
You are adjourned.
Thank you.